Happily, Jeremy is not a turnaround arts kid. He grew up in a stable and loving family who are actually here with us today, in a good neighborhood, and went to a great public school. And in elementary school, he was going to be a track star, but he busted up his knee. And going into 5th grade, he was a little lost. He was shy, he was nervous, he didn't know where he fit in, and then he found the viola in his 5th grade orchestra class. His father says it was love at first sight. He said Jeremy learned about leadership and made new friends, and he learned to finish what he started. Jeremy went on to become first chair in his high school orchestra and somewhat of an internet sensation, arranging pop songs on his viola, and I suggest you all look him up on YouTube. He graduated from high school 2 weeks ago with a 3.52 and will be going to the Berklee School of Music in the fall.
So tonight, I want to share a passion with you, and I want to share some evidence for that passion, and then I want to share a theory. I believe that the arts can transform students' lives in ways that are unprecedented and in ways that have the potential to change the very society in which we live. So in 1998, I had the opportunity to found the Boston Arts Academy, a school that would put the arts in the very center of the curriculum. The arts would provide a way to both pose problems and solve problems. We would create a school where creativity counts, where judgment counts, and good judgment has to be taught. So one of the things that I've seen, imagine a scene where students are studying, whether it's an art school or any school you can think of, abstract painting. Very difficult for young people to get a handle on that. And often, the first thing out of a young person's mouth is, "What is this? I think this is stupid." But with guidance and impassioned teaching, young people can begin to access something which is very alien to them, very different for them, and very far away often from their own experience. Students can then extend their power of attention and knowledge to appreciate an unfamiliar piece of art. And what I realized is that when students begin to do that, they gain confidence as both intellectuals and as creators. They can acquire the ability to persevere for long periods of time, and this can give them a sense of ownership in the learning process. The process can even be joyful. Imagine, schools can be joyful places for adolescents. I would never argue that a sustained study of music creates math geniuses, but I would say that the skills required in a sustained study in the arts teaches students how to transfer those skills into academic arenas as well. It may also help students navigate through very rocky social and emotional issues. And that brings me to the story of Ronald. I met Ronald, and this, is the Boston Arts Academy, but I met Ronald not when he looked like that. I met Ronald when he was 13 years old, sitting outside his principal's office looking like this, angry, mean, and very unhappy. His principal had called me to talk with him. He had auditioned for the Boston Arts Academy. He had gotten in, but he was in jeopardy of not graduating from 8th grade. He fought almost every week. He was suspended regularly, and his teachers had all but given up on him. So I said, I'll come and meet with him. And I sat and I talked, and I said, I understand you have a voice like the angels, but you're always fighting. And you can't get to high school if you're not going to graduate from 8th grade. I don't know if I really got through to him in those moments, but he did graduate, and he did come to 8th grade. In my 36 years as a teacher, I have watched students develop a form of artistic identity that blends their reputation in school with their reputations outside of school through the arts. Making creative work as an actor, as a sculptor, as a painter, as a dancer. These are the kinds of things that give young people a chance to really develop a vision of self. It was this vision of self we hoped we would be able to create in Ronald. He was overwhelmed when he arrived at the Boston Arts Academy. The idea of refining work academically and artistically was foreign to him. He was accustomed to the easy accolades he got as a singer in his church and in his 8th grade choir. But the pushing and the critiquing that he got when he came to us was new to him. Further, he found out that that street cred you get fighting with your fists didn't work anymore at the Arts Academy. But his music teacher was very impressed with his vocal abilities and pushed him hard to lead his tenor section. He was then selected for a very prestigious summer program and got a scholarship to go. But he hadn't done well in his freshman year. He had failed most of his courses, and going to the summer program was going to be replaced by going to summer school. He tried to slough off the disappointment when his friends were all getting ready to go. But at one point he turned to me and said, Miss, please, just let me go. Next year I'll do the courses. Next summer I'll go to summer school. But I gotta do this music thing now. I know I'm good, and you know I'm the lead, and you know I lead my section. Just forget about it, and I promise next year I'll do better. And I said, no, Ronald, that's not the way it works. And I think that was a watershed moment for him, realizing that while he had gotten really good at something, he still had to work really hard at getting good at the things that weren't as easy for him. So during his sophomore and junior year, his grades began creeping up. He was kicked out of his house, lived with other family members, actually lived on the street for a while. He had an extremely hard high school career, but he did not give up. Music had spoken to him. He knew he was good at something, and he was going to learn to refine his academic work as well. He became very proficient as a singer, and his attitude began changing. He wanted to be a leader in the arts, and he wanted to do well in school. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and say that he's a brilliant musician today, but he is out there making music. He's going to a community college, and I know that I'm going to hear from Ronald one of these days. And I know that what that young man has learned is perseverance, dedication, the ability to take something you're good at and learn to get good at something else. Next, I want to tell you about another student. I want to tell you about Raul. Raul is a drummer and a senior, and as part of our work at the Arts Academy, all seniors have to do a senior project. Senior project is when a student has to think of an issue in the community that they care deeply about and take both their artistic and academic skills and do something feasible for that community. It's a very difficult project. Students actually write a grant. Some of them get real money. About 30% of the class actually goes out and does their project, but all of our students have to do this as a graduation requirement. So Raul had decided that as a drummer, he was going to do something that involved drumming, and his issue was homelessness. So he presented before his panel, and he was asked, what was it, first of all, for him about drumming? And he said, well, I'm a drummer, and when you drum, you can't lie. Drumming comes from the heart. Drumming is my soul. When I drum, I'm at peace. And I want to do something in the homeless community that will give those men the same experience. The judge is sort of a little perplexed, but why the homeless community? And your idea is you're going to put on a concert with homeless men and you're going to teach them to drum and they're going to raise money for the shelter? And Raul looked down and said, yes, for the homeless men. My uncle is homeless. My uncle is in that shelter. My uncle was my first teacher. That's why I'm here. And I want to do something for that community. It was an incredible project, incredibly powerful. No, his uncle did not get out of the shelter. And no, I don't think any of the other men that worked with Raul did either. But what this young man learned is what I want every young man, every young woman across this country to learn, that school is a place where you bring your passions to bear in the classroom, outside of the classroom, and that's what school should be about. That's what Raul taught me. That's what our young people teach us every day. So let me end by saying this. I have learned from my young people, day in and day out, that when we can create schools where arts and kids' passions are at the center, when young people can feel that school is about making a difference in the community, their community, the community that they define, we can have truly great schools. I have seen that again and again. I know that a foundational curriculum in the arts can give us those kinds of schools. I want all of our schools to be places where young people, these are sophomores and juniors in high school, can learn to work together, show such perseverance, such incredible dedication, ensemble behavior. That's what these people are learning. Listening to one another, listening to the music, learning how to direct one another, learning how to do work at the highest level of excellence. That brings me to my theory. When I visit schools, the place where young people feel the safest, where young people feel they can be themselves, is almost always the arts teacher's classroom. And that, of course, in our public schools, are the places that are being cut faster and faster in favor of double English, double math, to pass tests that I'm not sure will create a society that we're all proud of. So my theory is that arts education is central to rethinking how schools can engage students in the learning process. Arts education is critical in helping our young people develop a lens that gives them language to talk about race, some of the hardest things to talk about for our young people, to talk about socioeconomic differences, to talk about gender. The arts provide another language, another way of experiencing relationships, and I have witnessed repeatedly how the arts can positively transform students' lives. I hope I can count on you to make my theory a reality. Thank you.